Hey guys! My new garage isn't quite as big as the old one, and I'm a little short on storage space. Follow along while we put together this 14 by 20 storage shelter from Winkler Structures. Thanks for stopping by. Here's the start of what we have to work with. This is how the package came from Winkler. I hauled it home on my trailer. I'm going to guess that that's the door lift tube. These are the purlins that go longitudinally down the tent. We've got the peak rafters. These are going to be the uprights. And we've got a few what appear to be braces. Over here in the bags we've got, I'm assuming, the main tent. And these are going to be the front and the back. And then we've got our big shipping crate here. It's going to have the brackets that the purlin's attached to. And I'm hoping some instructions. And probably some hardware. Let me grab a pair of tin snips. We'll crack these straps open and see what we got. Well, let's see what we got inside the box. We got some nice heavy screw down anchors, a roll of duct tape. I'm guessing we have some instructions here and some other miscellaneous hardware. Let me crack open the instructions, take a look at what we need to do, and I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to proceed. Before we get going on this though, I want to point out I've paid full retail for this. This video is in no way sponsored by Winkler Canvas. I had to drive 4 hours to pick this thing up. But I did talk to the factory when I was there. If this video does well, they may be willing to have me come in and do a little factory tour, show you guys how these shelters are built. Why don't you leave a thumb up and a comment. Let me know if you want me to go and tour the factory. I've kind of started laying things out here according to the instructions. A little bit of confusion when I started going through the instructions is that Winkler also includes the assembly instructions for the great big buildings as well, the double arch 100 feet by 300 feet dimension buildings, which it'd be nice to have in the back, but a little bit on the large side. But they also have a separate book that shows the assembly of these smaller buildings. And these two pipes here and along there will be used to strap the tarp down along the edge. This pipe here is going to be our crossbar. And we've got the arch laid out there. We've got our corner piece. There's 4 of that style of corner piece that I've got laid out. Kind of fits into the pipe along those lines there. One of the things I did notice is that some of these pipes have a little bit of a sharp edge on them. So I broke out broken out a battery powered angle grinder, and I'm going to go along and just take any sharp burrs off, so that we're not going to cut the tarp when we go to put it on. In addition to deburring all of these pipes, and we still got to deburr the rest of them that I haven't laid out yet. But in addition to deburring, they also want you to screw together all of the joints with self-tapping screws. And also we need to duct tape any potential sharp edges. Kind of a belt and suspenders approach. Kind of shows me that it's a well thought out product. I think we've reached the point though where I can start slipping some of these pipes together and turn this into some sort of shelter looking thing. Let me put you guys on a stand and I'll go at it. Probably do a little bit of a time lapse here, maybe throw a little music on, and we'll see if we can make some progress here. Here's my handy-dandy idea for working by myself, trying to get these frames up in place. I don't know how well it's going to work, but we'll give it a try. Definitely will be able to get me up higher in the air at least. I put some tape on the corners just to kind of try and hold things together a little bit. Let me put you guys on a stand and I'll climb up on this wonderful little rig and we'll see if we can get this next bow to go in place. I guess we repeat that a couple more times. That gives us 4 ribs put together. Now we're to the point where we're going to stand up the end and connect it up to the existing structure. This could be a little bit interesting. I'll put you guys on a stand and hopefully there's not something entertaining for you to watch while I'm doing it. Well, it gives us an approximate size for the building anyways. One more rib still needs to go in place, but based on where we've gotten to so far, that shouldn't be too big of a problem. Looking at the size of the inside of this thing, I'm thinking almost, you know, we could put some 6x6 posts up, kind of down in the corner here, come up, 3 or 4 of them along the length of it, and come across with a loft about the same height as the scaffold there. That would give us a lot of additional storage space up in the top of this and make it so that it's freestanding, self-supporting, so that we don't have the building necessarily tied into it. And if the tent shelter ever did decide that it wanted to blow away or collapse in the winter due to snow load, then the post frame loft could support the top of the building and it wouldn't land on the equipment that I plan on storing in here. Well guys, that gives us the press fit together of the entire frame. Gives us a good idea how big this building is going to be. Probably could have gone a little bit bigger lengthwise, maybe another 4 feet, but I wanted to leave some room for pulling in and out of the building, and I think that's pretty well the minimum amount of space that we can do that with. We're going to be keeping the Corvette in here, and it's going to mean backing it in and along that far side. Definitely we're not parallel to the back of the garage, which is one of the things that I want to do, so we're going to have to straighten the building up a little bit. Ideally we want to have 2 meters of spacing between the back of the building and the side of the shelter. Because this is a tent shelter, 2 meters is not absolutely necessary, but why not make it as close as we can to the rules, even though it's not a permanent structure. Next step in this little assembly project is going to be screwing everything together, and in the kit we get a bunch of these tech screws that are designed to screw into those pipes. They even provide you the bit to use to install them with. We want to install these on the inside so that they're not going to rub on the tarp and wear a hole through, and then after we get everything put together, the duct tape wraps around to cover any of these sharp edges. Let me get things set up here and I'll bring you guys along for the ride when we start putting some of these screws in. Tech screws are designed so that they're self-drilling and self-tapping. So they've got kind of a drill bit tip on them designed to go through the metal, then cut their own threads. However, I've found that it's much easier to take just a conventional drill bit and put a pilot hole in the steel before putting the tech screw in. The tech screw will drill through, but it takes a lot of effort, and the drill bit's much quicker. And as I said earlier, we want the heads of the bolts to be pointing in at an angle where they're not going to be catching on the tarp, because even with tape on there, the head of the bolt will wear a hole in the tarp pretty quick. That leaves one more corner back over there that needs to be screwed together down at the bottom here. And once I get that done, I'll go at the top. There's the two sides of the peak pipe, and then there's the ridge pole that runs down the length of the entire roof. Let me get those done, and I'll bring you guys back when we've got all of these screws in place. Well guys, we are quickly running out of daylight here, but I've only got about 6 more screws that need to go in. All of the top fittings are screwed together, except here at this end. They're all taped down at the bottom, all the way along. The screws are in place, but still need to get tape on all of those joints. Once that's all done, there's still a couple more steps, but I think we're going to finish that up in the morning when we have some fresh daylight. So I'm going to shut the camera down here for the evening, get these last 6 screws put in place, and then clean up. And we'll see you guys back. It'll be 12 hours or so for me, but it'll probably be more like about 12 seconds for you. So we'll continue on with this in the morning. We're back at it again, new day. The only thing we've got left to do to the frame is to get these corner braces put in place. And we've got a flat T-bracket here, and likewise on the other side. And what I'm going to do with this to start off is I'm going to drill and put a self-tapper in here, get the one end basically fastened, and then I'm going to leave the other end floating. We'll do that when it's up on the shelter. That way we're not having to deal with any slight misalignment. Ideally the two ends need to be parallel, but it's easier to deal with that up on the shelter. I've also dragged it in, put a tape measure on it, and I've got about 93 inches, give or take, from the building to the end of, or to the sidewall of the shelter. And so that's pretty much where it's going to live permanently. Gives me a nice little spot to park a couple things here in between the garage and the shelter, things that I'm not too worried about getting some water on. Although I probably will have to put an eaves trough up on the back of the garage so that we don't get all the water from the roof running off whatever's parked here. That does leave it a little strip of gravel here along the side, so that we're not having to come up right against the side of the shelter with the lawnmower and risk catching the top with the blades. You guys have seen me put some screws in already, so I'm going to turn the camera off so I got 2 hands to work with this. We'll get the brackets installed in the end of each of these pipes and start putting them up on the shelter. I've got one of these braces put in, just held in with clamps here to kind of do an evaluation, see where we're at. I've put a mark on the tube, I don't know whether you guys can see that or not, at 86, and that's at the top. The instructions aren't real specific as to where these are supposed to go. Basically they show them being mounted at the bend, but the bend in the picture is a lot sharper than the bend on the tube, and if we put these halfway through the radius, what we're going to end up with is 2 sharp corners on each of these that's poking out and going to wear through the tarp. So I think this is probably, you know, best of both worlds, and it definitely will brace things up quite a bit. And the clamps seem to do a decent job of holding it in place. Let me put you on a stand. We'll drill a hole in each end of that and put a screw in, see how it goes. That certainly went in a lot easier than I was expecting it to. Obviously we're going to have to slather some duct tape around everything, make sure there's no sharp edges that are going to catch the tarp. But that definitely turned out not too bad. 3 more to go. I don't think I'm going to record the repeats. I'll get those knocked out, and then we'll figure out where we go from there. Well guys, I think we've got this frame basically put together. A little more taping I need to do at the bottom. These joints taped up so there's no sharp edges to catch the tarps on, but everything else is all taped up top, and the frame is basically pretty much where I want it. Maybe a little bit of fine tuning with a more careful measurement, but basically we've got what we want here. I think this is a logical spot to end the video for now. We'll call this part 1. In part 2, we're going to continue with the ground anchors and putting the tarp over top, put the ends in place, and finishing off the building. Be sure to check back, and if you got this far in the video, you do me a favor, give me one of those thumb up things, and maybe subscribe, ring that bell icon, help me grow the channel. We're doing good with the growth, but we can always use more. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys in the next mess.